Welcome to Ultimate Cry Ministries. Thanks for joining us once again. Today we'll be talking about the final gospel. You see, soon there is a crisis that is about to break upon humanity, in which every man, woman, and child will make decisions that will decide their eternal destinies. This final gospel that we'll be speaking about is the very thing that will give hope that we may know the future and be able to prepare adequately for it. In the book of Matthew chapter 24, Jesus Christ predicted powerful signs that would take place to let the final generation know that they were living in the last days. Those signs already taking place all around us. Some of them are listed starting from Matthew chapter 24 and verse 4 and onward, where it says, "And Jesus answered and said unto them, Take heed that no man deceive you. For many will come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled. For all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And there shall be famines and pestilences, and earthquakes in divers places. All these are the beginning of sorrows. Now many may say that earthquakes, wars, and diseases have always existed. So that means that Jesus was just prophesying what has always been. But friends, the last phrase we just read unlocks what Jesus was really saying. The phrase, all these are the beginning of sorrows, in the original Greek is actually translated, all these are the beginning of birth pangs, giving the picture of a woman in travail while giving birth to a baby. The closer it gets to the event of the child being born, the closer the contractions and the greater the frequency and intensity of those contractions. In the same way, Jesus was saying that the closer it gets to the event of the second coming, the greater the contractions of earth will be. In other words, whereas there have always been tornadoes, these tornadoes will increase. Whereas there have always been earthquakes, wars, and rumors of wars, all of these will increase. And we cannot deny that we are seeing that today, which lets us know that the coming of Jesus Christ is very soon. Then the Bible tells us that God's people in the last days will be blamed for those catastrophes. For as it says in Matthew chapter 24 and verse 9, Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. But even in the midst of this, Jesus does not return, because there is one final sign to be fulfilled. That sign is found in verse 14, which says, And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. In other words, a gospel must be preached that is so powerful that when it is given as a witness, it actually brings an end to the world. The word witness there is actually translated marturion, which can mean testimony or witness. The reality that this verse is revealing to us is that whatever this gospel is, it is not just preached or proclaimed from the lips. In other words, a testimony, but it is actually lived out in the life. In other words, a witness. Something that can be seen. Can you imagine that? A gospel that when demonstrated before the world actually brings an end to the world. Is there another place in the Bible that talks about a gospel that brings an end to the world? In the book of Revelation, just such a gospel is given. It tells us in Revelation chapter 14, starting at verse 6 and onward to verse 12. And I saw another angel fly in the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel to preach unto them that dwell on the earth, and to every nation and kindred and tongue and people, saying with a loud voice, Fear God and give glory to him, for the hour of his judgment is come, and worship him that made heaven and earth and the sea and the fountains of waters. And there followed another angel saying, Babylon is fallen, that great city, because she made all nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, If any man worship the beast and his image, and receive of his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation, and he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone, in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. And the smoke of their torment ascendeth up forever and ever. And they have no rest, day nor night, who worship the beast and his image, and whosoever receiveth the mark of his name. Here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus. Here are three angels, one found in verse 7, then in verse 8, and then in verse 9, giving three messages to the world that forms what is called in verse 6 the everlasting gospel. But when is this gospel given? Verse 14 and 15 lets us know. In Revelation chapter 14 and verse 14 it states, "And I looked, and behold a white cloud, and upon the cloud one sat like unto the Son of Man, having on his head a golden crown, and in his hand a sharp sickle." Notice the main character in this verse, that his name is the Son of Man. Does the Bible tell us who the Son of Man is? In the book of Matthew chapter 16 and verse 13, the Bible says, when Jesus came into the coast of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, "Whom do men say that I, the Son of Man, am?" Notice that Jesus in this verse refers to himself as the Son of Man, which means that in the New Testament, the phrase Son of Man is one of the titles of Jesus. Now we know who the Son of Man is in Revelation chapter 14 and verse 14. It is none other than Jesus Christ. He is the one sitting on the cloud, but notice the Bible tells us that he has a sickle in his hand, and a sickle is used to reap a harvest. No wonder the Bible tells us in verse 15 of the same chapter, "And another angel came out of the temple, crying with a loud voice to him that sat on the cloud, Thrust in thy sickle and reap. For the time is come for thee to reap, for the harvest of the earth is ripe." Now you might ask, when is this harvest going to take place? In Revelation chapter 14 and verse 14, Jesus Christ is represented as a king/farmer because he has a crown on his head and a sickle in his hand. Now, there is another place in the scriptures where Jesus Christ speaks of himself as a farmer. And that is found in Matthew chapter 13 and verse 37, where he begins to explain a parable he told previously. In it he says, "He answered and said unto them, He that soweth the good seed is the Son of Man." Then a few verses later, Jesus Christ speaks about the harvesting of that seed that he planted by saying, "The harvest is the end of the world, and the reapers are the angels." Now we know what the harvest is. It is the end of the world, even the close of human probation. So this means that the everlasting gospel found in Revelation chapter 14 verse 6 through 12 is preached just before the harvest, or the end of the world, which is found in verses 14 and 15 of the same chapter. This is the gospel Jesus Christ was speaking about in Matthew chapter 24 and verse 14, when he said, "And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then the end shall come." My friends, we are living in the final moments of Earth's history, which means now is the time for the everlasting gospel to go forth. We owe it to ourselves to understand this gospel, for it will determine whether we receive the mark of the beast or the seal of the living God in the not too distant future. Jesus desires that we know these three messages, for in Revelation chapter 1 and verse 1, he is the very one that gave the contents of the book of Revelation to John through his angel, just as he received it from his Father. So stay tuned for part 2 as we continue our study. But for now, thank you for joining us at Ultimate Cry, a ministry born with the purpose of reaching you, equipping you, and freeing you with the only truth that can make you free, Jesus Christ.